We have Prateek with us, Prateek Chatterjee, Senior Vice President, Corporate Communications and Marketing, NIIT. Welcome, Prateek. So he is going to talk to us about dealing with fake news. We have been discussing about fake news throughout the other sessions in some form, but we'll delve deeper into it. So over to you, Prateek.
Thanks, Sujoy. Hi, am I audible enough?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Okay, so yes, very interesting lineup of sessions you have, Sujoy, and thank you for putting this together, and thank you for making me a part of this conclave today. In fact, this assumes greater significance about fake news in today's times, especially the volatile times that we are living in, and with the pandemic getting digital more center stage. So there is all the more possibility of misinformation, coming out as misinformation, and fake news, which has been a bane of the entire social media, the news churn which happens from there. So how does that get reflected during these pandemic times, and what is it that we as communication professionals need to look out for? So I have put up a very brief presentation which I would like to present and take you through it. And then if we have some time for questions, maybe I'll make this about 10 minutes or so. And if there's some time for 2-3 questions, I can take that towards the end of my presentation. So I'll just share my screen right now. Yeah, talking about corporate reputation management in the age of fake news, and why should it worry brands? So I'll be coming in some examples, and I'll be taking some from the recent times, and then relating it back to corporate, and what is it that we need to focus on to align, that the misinformation doesn't lead to brand damage. So, so the first question is, just a moment. Yeah, so did Microsoft acquire Sony for $130 billion? This is something we saw recently as a news. And the news of Microsoft acquiring its arch rival in gaming space, Sony, took many by surprise. And it was actually by a Spanish website reporting the development. And in a detailed article, the website said the deal was, about $130 billion. And many of the regular websites picked it up, and it was later only that it came to known that it was actually a fake news, and Microsoft did not acquire the PlayStation Sony, and it was something which was actually clarified later in the day by the company. Then there was this news going around in coronavirus pandemic about Bill Gates, like Bill Gates having something to do with actually what happened in the virus. Why? Because he needed to have world supremacy, and therefore he was behind the creation of coronavirus. There were theories he wanted people to use a particular vaccine, and which actually helped Microsoft in some way, and would also help him lead to world domination. So much so that Bill Gates actually had to come and deny it publicly, saying that he has nothing to do with the rumor, and it's actually a bad combination of pandemic, media, and people looking for very simple explanations. Then this is something which we saw more closer now, and it was almost believable because trust Donald Trump to make these statements. So did Donald Trump actually confuse Maradona for Madonna? Because there was a tweet out which said, "Very sad to hear about the death of Maradona. A great person. Her music was wonderful. I remember listening to her albums in the early 1980s. Rest in peace." He seems to be referring to Madonna, the singer, whereas actually the person who we all know is Maradona, the great footballer. So what do all of these have in common? These examples, which are recent, and they are very, very much there out there in the open space, and people have been following it, commenting it, talking about it. They all look and sound very strange to begin with, right? But what if your close friends are saying the same in WhatsApp groups? You see them in the Facebook timeline where you've been tagged by a friend. You also see them published in trusted news sites, and you hear peers in office discussing about it with great interest. And they're interesting, trolls or interesting, visuals doing the round in social media. Does it still sound as strange, the news? No, it's not. So because the fake news is now the new reality. In fact, exponential repetition of story without checking the facts is what makes it go viral. And though it may sound very unbelievable to start with, it's becoming a serious issue for brands. I'll come to exactly now. I've seen examples of how it's affecting brands, and what is it that brands are doing. Some of them are doing it very good and successfully, and what is it that brands need to be wary about. So basically, what we are seeing is the sheer velocity of the news which is happening is unprecedented, and that's what it's giving its authenticity and potency. So therefore, this is what we are calling the dark side of digital evolution. So there are many examples that I've seen as far as the corporates are concerned of recent. Kalyan Jeweler sells fake gold. There is Ashirwad Atta has plastic. Kingfisher beer contains glycerin. People find plastic in Amul milk. Cadbury's chocolate infected with HIV virus. This is one example that I am taking, where actually there's a person who took an image which is circulating and which says that the products do not use because it has blood contaminated with HIV. So much so that the Mondelez, the organization, had to come out with and release an official statement saying that no, this is not a true news; it's a fake news. There was one on Combiflam that you may have come across, which said that Combiflam actually leads to adverse health consequences, reactions, for which again Sanfoy had to come and clarify. So the point I'm coming to is that because of this exponential explosion of news and them being on social media and being consumed largely by Netizians, digital native citizens, and more so in the pandemic because they're looking at their phones as the first proven source of news. The conventional adage which says innocent till proven guilty. So organizations, people have a chance to actually, prove their innocence, and they were actually termed as innocent till proven guilty, is now actually guilty till proven innocent. And this is becoming a very, very critical point for brands to look in, because what is happening is it's leading to a whole lot of brand damage, and therefore there needs to be a measure to check and balance it. So guilty till proven innocent in today's world journalism. Why? Because why has it been turned upside down? See, because the news goes viral in a flash, and bad news acquires a spin, and you get a tarnished image. The vulnerability is more now than ever before, and therefore, not only that, along with this, there is consumer and shareholder activism, government bodies, social groups, hatchet jobs competing together, making it too easy to fall from grace. So therefore, leading to loss of goodwill, decreased revenue, loss of clients or suppliers, erosion of market share. So we see one example now for how a brand actually got affected because of this. We see the example of Toyota. So there was a recall of Toyota cars of about 5.2 million cars, okay, a few years back. And the reason, in fact, the CEO of Toyota at that time had to go to Congress and explain the reason that, it was because of faulty brake systems. But later it came apparent, clear that it was not that, it was actually sticky pedal mats, which was leading to this defect. But by then it was too late, and Toyota already had lost $2 billion in sales, and share prices had fallen by 15%. Again, an example of fake news, affecting brand reputation and damage. Recently in India, we saw that the 9 nationalized banks are going to be shut down. And that was a fact, fake news. And RBI had to actually, Reserve Bank of India had to actually come up with an official statement saying that, this is a fake news and this is not something which is true, and to restore investor confidence in the 9 nationalized banks. So we have seen examples now, both from a personality front, like we had Trump, we had, Bill Gates, then we had corporations like Toyota, Sony, Microsoft, in fact, Cadbury's. So what's driving fake news? So what is the reason? First, we need to understand that. And then we will quickly see that is there a way that we can, detect it when we see it right there in front of us. So therefore, fake news by itself is not new. We all know the example of Pepsi, having a syringe hoax in the 90s as communicators, and there have been case studies on it. But what's happening is that the distance and the speed by which it could reach earlier has been much more now than it was, in those days, and more so now when everything is gone virtual and digital in the age of coronavirus and pandemic, becoming our first trusted news sources, which is social media. Journalists, by the time they can do their due diligence and come up with actual news, which is correct, true, and authenticated, already the audience has moved on to their next big story, which is breaking again on social. So the person's already been branded guilty, till he is proven innocent. So therefore, hence, as I said, guilty till proven innocent. So what do we do? We'll just come to that. But I will take a minute here to understand, how can you spot fake news? As communicators, it becomes our duty to understand that what we see right now, is there's something coming in front of us. We need to do a due diligence and find out whether this is actually a true, or it's something which is being churned by the fake news machinery. So first and foremost thing, does it seem plausible? Well, the reason why fake news is done is basically to increase clicks. They are like clickbaits. So the way it works in today's funding model of online and digital, what happens is that the more amount of clicks a site gets, the more amount of revenues it gets from online giants like Google, etc., paying them for advertising on their platform. So therefore, it's important that they have people clicking on their stories. So and therefore, it's the kind of a headline which makes them assured for clicks. So therefore, that's one. So if it is does it seem implausible? It seems to be far-fetched. Probably it's true. A good rule of thumb: if a story seems far-fetched, it probably is. How do you feel? Does it make it go? Does it get under your skin? Like, for example, Bill Gates, is he actually a person who is responsible for coronavirus epidemic? It's actually something a little far-fetched and gets under your skin. So probably that is what it is. It's actually fake. Uh, then the other ways that where is the story coming from? Is it a reliable source? Is it a reputable website? There are some websites, what they do, like for the example, indiatoday.com, there'll be indiatoday.com.co. And look out for that .co after the .com. Actually, that's where the fake news engine resides. And people actually do extensions of trusted websites to actually take out news which is fake to again fall into the entire clickbait theory. And then what you need to check is, are there any quotes? Have there been any official people who have been quoted in that from either of the party, and has it been validated by another third party? The rule of thumb for good journalism is the affected party needs to have a quote, the person who's making the accusation needs to have a quote, and there has to be reliable third party reporting as well. So therefore, if these are there, makes the story more credible. Perform your own check on the internet. There are, in fact, fact check sites like factchecker.in, Boom, etc., which actually help you with URL test links. So if you actually take out the URL of the site news that you're referring to and you paste it there, they actually will check it for you and come back whether it's true or fake. Then you need to know whether your peers are also kind of reviewing it, which lends credibility. Many a times you would see a friend requests coming in from somebody unknown to you, but when you go click on it and see the number of common friends, then you can be sure that he's not the person who's actually a real person, because the number of common friends for somebody you would know would be much more than maybe just one or two. So there's some amount of peer review which is important, which lends credibility in case of fake news as well. So therefore, perform your own search, which is important. Corporate reputation management in the age of fake news. This is the last and second last slide that I'm coming to, which is the most important one. And I will tell you why it is important. So I'll just kind of list it down in the interest of time, and we can go through it. My key takeaway from this is that owned media. So I'm sure as communication professionals, you would know about the communication mix. I will just give it a little brief on this as the peso structure, which is if you have a communication pie and you divide it into 4 quadrants. So there is a paid media, there is earned media, there is owned media, and shared media. So paid media would come under the realm of advertisements, advertorials. Earned media would be basically with editorials coming in with PR, pure PR. Then there would be owned media, which would be your own digital properties, whether it be social media, whether it be digital website, your microsite platforms. And the last being the shared media. Shared media is what you're sharing, which is the social media, and how you're interacting or engaging with your stakeholders. So in terms of fake news management, what seems to be important is that the first line of defense, if you come to the third point, which I'm talking about, owned media is the brand's first line of defense against fake news. So for why does this fake news get virality? Why does it become all pervasive? Because by the time any credible journalist has done the homework and found out the sources and done the story, people have moved on to something else new, and then this is actually left to be proven to be innocent till that time he's guilty. So in case if you have your own digital websites, your own newsletters, your social media engine, giving out the real picture of what has gone wrong, so therefore, it actually gives a kind of a point of defense or point of credibility for reporting, wherein you have the real news coming out, and also for persons who are, getting the public who are getting the fake news, they can be directed to the official handles or the website to actually get the true picture. So just kind of to summarize what I was saying is fake news is the new reality. In fact, there's some of it I have not even mentioned over here. There's something we talk about deep fake. A deep fake could be, I'm giving this entire talk, it could not be me, it could be somebody else doing it, because by deep fake what they do is they impersonate the person's picture the way it is, the video the way it is, and you can make him talk anything, you can make him say anything, and it would actually come across as Prateek Chatterjee having made the presentation, or Roma Balwani having made the presentation. Whereas in true fact, it could be anybody else saying anything they want them to say. There was a very a famous video of Obama which circulated some time back, and that showed it. So therefore, and it's going to only increase, and the brands need to be mindful about how they can deal with it. And I would say, if in your order of priority, if you have to put something right now, is going to be the owned media. So how do you have a strategy for owned media, and how do you make sure that it's timely, effective, and it reaches out? The well-written blogs could be one of them. It could be something like this one, for example, Ashirwad Atta. So we had this example of, I would say, ITC did a very good job with own media, and Arup, a good friend in ITC, has been kind of spearheading this campaign. And everybody, I'm sure, would have come across this on WhatsApp forward or in some way or the other, that ITC Atta has got, plastic. But they used own media very effectively. Everywhere you went on their websites, microsites, information, social media handle, WhatsApp forwards from them, had an entire story to say about what is it that Ashirwad Atta has, and what is it being confused for plastic. So what is it that you need to inform, or the kind of spread awareness about, and therefore then you get to have information flow happening rather than misinformation, and being already proven to be guilty rather before having a chance to be proven innocent. So on that note, I'd like to end my presentation, although there is much more I thought I would like to cover. But to be fair to the organizers, we're already running a bit behind schedule. So I'll stop here. And if there are any questions now, Sujoy, I can take it now or maybe later as possible.